as we prepare for this ceremony on the traditional day of Memorial Day, I want to thank all of you for coming and being with us to pay tribute to those veterans that have served our country to give us the freedom to be here tonight. And I will give you, as usual, if you come, you know what's coming, a little flag etiquette. That when the flag goes by you, we ask you if you're in uniform to use your organization's salute. If you're not in uniform, place your hand over your heart. Do the same thing for the playing of the national anthem and for taps up in the cemetery. And needless to say, no one should be sitting down when the American flag goes by. All right? At this time, I will be calling for the colors to be advanced, so if everyone would stand, and you will remain standing through the presentation of the colors, the posting of the colors, the invocation, and the Pledge of Allegiance, and then you will be seated. Thank you.
One, vote! Folks for colors? Water? Hans? You seated?
No, please remain standing.
Follow order. I'm sorry. Overruled. That's right.
Father John Grimes, most precious blood will now offer benediction.
Go ahead.
It's the invocation.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. O good and gracious God, we gather before you this evening to honor all those who have served in the military, our veterans, those who have returned from combat with wounds that can be seen as well as those that are not. We especially remember those who have given their lives for our country. These men and women made the ultimate sacrifice of their own lives for our freedom and for the protection of our nation. With grateful hearts, we lift them up to you in this moment of prayer. In solidarity, Lord, we unite ourselves with all the living members of their families. There are many who feel the pain of the loss of loved ones who died in wars, past and present. We hope that the remembrance of these fallen service men and women by a grateful nation will bring some solace to those who grieve their loss. Finally, Lord, we ask you to bless all of us gathered here in this community of Dover. Help us to honor these fallen American military and service men and women, not only in word, but also in action. That is, by the action of dedicating ourselves to the work of building peace in our world. Where there is tension and conflict, let us strive to bring understanding and a willingness to resolve differences so that we may build up a nation and a world committed to peace and justice. We bring this prayer before you, our God, trusting that you are with us now and with those who have died forever and ever. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now you may be seated. It gives me great pleasure to present to you those that are seated up front. As I say presented because I think you all know them, I hope, but if not, I'll introduce them. And to my far right and your left, we have Reverend Peter DeSanto from Grace Church. Then we have Reverend Sean Leonard from St. Dunstan's Church, and Reverend John J. Grimes from Most Precious Blood. We have the Memorial Day committee members, Jay Sullivan and Chris Jackman. To my far left, there is an empty seat for Denise Garlick, Representative Denise. She has a commitment but will be joining us. So if you see her scurrying in to sit down, that's Denise. Her busy schedule, she always makes sure she's with us. And then we have our selectmen, John Jeffries, Bob Springett, and Robin Hunt. And then, to my left and your right, we have our Grand Marshal, who served in the United States Navy, Bob to all of us, Cox, and he's quite a ukulele player. Couldn't pass that up. And to my right, I will introduce and present you as our guest speaker, Reverend Dr. C. Maxwell Olmsted of Dover Church. You're on.
The United States are a country born of disagreement. The very phrase the United States are, or the United States is a country, is a point of disagreement. Other countries in the world are born of ethnic unity and proximity. But all of our ancestors, or some of us here, all came here because we disagreed with the countries where we were. And once we got here, we disagreed with each other about how to be a country. Our founding fathers created a framework to which we agreed to disagree within. And we still disagree with each other about just about everything. The role of government, the privileges and the rights of being citizens, our role of the country in the world, you name it, we disagree. But there's one thing that we all agree on. We all love our country for the simple reason that it's home. It's our home. It's the place we come from. It's where we belong. And it has all of the emotional and social resonances which warm our hearts and bring a tear to our eyes when we think of this idea of home. Now, some of us have a strong preference for a very localized home, like you maybe only love Dover, or you maybe only love Massachusetts, or you're a New Englander, or you're an East Coaster, or so on. But I suspect that all of us embrace the entire country when we're moved by the national anthem, or we're stirred by our national ideals, aspirations of liberty and justice for all, or one of our countrymen and women do something amazing and we stand and cheer them, or we visit another part of the country and we see how beautiful it is and how nice they are, even if they speak with a funny accent. And I bring up this idea of home because I think it's a big part of Memorial Day. Today we remember and honor those who have died in the armed service of our country. And I think when we get right down to it, the thing that all the people who serve in our armed services have in common is this idea of home. Not the ideas or the ideals or even the causes of the wars. In fact, people who've been in combat tell me that when the going gets really rough, like on the beach of Iwo Jima or in the city of Fallujah, that soldiers are not fighting for ideals, they're fighting to save their friends' lives and to get home. And so when they sign up because their home needs them. Their neighbors who can't serve need them who can to serve. To defend and protect our home, to preserve our home for our children and our children's children. And so we honor them. We honor those who died valiantly, doing heroic deeds. And we also honor those who didn't die, who died but not doing heroic deeds. For so many go to war and are killed by accident or due to illness. And there are always incompetent generals and admirals who make mistakes that get people killed. But we honor them because of their homes, and imagining our sorrow if it was our home to which they never returned. We honor them because of their comrades who had to carry them from the field of battle. We honor them because of their parents whose son or daughter never came home. We honor them because of their brothers and sisters whose sibling never came home. We honor them because of their wives and children and husbands whose special person never came home. We honor them because of their circle of friends and classmates whose fabric was torn with their death. And we honor them because of their communities which were changed because someone never came back and lived out their life with all the talents and gifts and neighborliness that might have been. We honor them because we owe them a debt. We honor them for the debt to be the home they died fighting for. To mourn their deaths so that they not be trivialized or glossed over or forgotten, because they really died. And mostly at a young age, when the rest of us are just coming into the fullness of our lives. We honor them to comfort and care for those who've lost their loved ones. The mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and husbands and wives whose hearts really broke when they received the telegram from the President of the United States, so that they not suffer in isolation, but be continually embraced by their community of home. We honor them when we remember the causes for which so many have died, not because we agree or disagree, see them as necessity or folly, want to justify them or castigate them, but rather that we might learn by their experience for the sake of future generations. So tonight, for this brief time at least, we remember. And this word remember, it comes from Latin. The word member is the Latin word for apart. And one of our community goes off to war on our behalf and gives his or her life, or when an entire age group goes off to war and returns, either wounded or does not return at all, we, the community on whose behalf they fought, are fractured and broken, not what we are or what we might have been. And so we remember. We put our pieces back together again and begin to heal. So my friends, honoring and remembering our fallen is important work for our community to do. It's actually the measure of the community, the home we aspire to be. And so on behalf of everyone here in front of you, I'd like to say that we honor you who are here this evening to offer this most important and solemn remembrance. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jay Sullivan, and I'm very proud to be part of the Memorial Day Committee. And I think it's time to introduce our beloved Chickering School Band. High school, oh my gosh, I apologize. Well, and we have a new Eagle Scout, so I should have known that. So I'd like to take charge. Okay? Thank you, high school band. Over service. I'm going to do something a little different this year, and I know Carol's sitting behind me going, what is he going to do? This is a special night for us in Dover. We have actually a hometown hero. You know, not every town has a hometown hero, but we do. And this individual, I'd like to come up with his lovely wife, Laurie, Glenn Blackburn. Can you please come up? Hi, buddy.
How you doing?
Good to see you. Let me say just a couple of words about Glenn. Glenn received the Silver Star in Vietnam, and that is the third highest medal in combat that the United States offers. As far as I can tell, he's the only living Silver Star recipient in our town. Glenn, now what I'd like to do, those of you that have seen me here every year see this tie, and they're probably wondering, like, does he own any other ties? Well, I own one other one. And what it is, it symbolizes those that have served in combat in Vietnam. And I'd like to present to Glenn this other tie that I own, and it's for you, buddy. Can I ask everybody to stand up, please, for Glenn? So now, what I'd like to do is ask all those veterans that are here this evening, beginning with Bob Cox, to form a line over here. And we're going to have each of them introduce themselves and the years of service and where they served. And before I do that, my name is J.F. Sullivan. I was a first lieutenant in Vietnam in 1970-71. And could I ask the column to please close in behind them? Actually, Jack, I apologize, Jack, you should be in front. Okay, well, okay.
Get up there, Jack.
Yep.
You go first.
Jack Savage, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam.
Let's have a big hand. Come on, everybody.
Bob Cox, United States Navy, Vietnam era, 1966 through 1969, I was over in the Middle East.
Hey, by the way, he's our Grand Marshal this evening. Thank you, Bob.
Arthur B. Glidden, 171st Infantry Brigade, 1965-67, Fort Wainwright, Alaska, combat engineer.
God bless. I was an engineer too.
Devon Ray, Marines, Afghanistan.
Xavier Shaker, Marines, Operation Legend Shield, Operation Resist Storm.
Wow, thank you.
John Saurigan, Air Force, Vietnam.
Al Stewart, U.S. Coast Guard, 1962-1966.
Joe Cumming Jr., United States Navy, 1994.
Ford Spaulding, United States Navy, 1966 and 1969.
Bird, 1965 to 1971, U.S. Army.
Bob Dixon, 1970 to 77, flying air combat refueling missions out of Kadena, Okinawa, and Utapao, Thailand.
Well.
Don Conlon, Republic of Vietnam, 1st Infantry Division, 173rd Infantry Brigade.
David Tucker, U.S. Coast Guard, 1968-1986, Vietnam.
Brian Martin, 1999 until present, Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Chris Jackman, USS Enterprise, 1981 to 84.
Can you believe how many veterans that we actually have in our little town? I mean, it's just incredible. And so many served in all over the world, and so many actually were in Vietnam. And I want to thank them, all of us, for our service. And I'd like to ask everybody to stand for a second, and let's give all our veterans a great round of applause. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce, again, Chris Jackman, who's a member of our Memorial Day Committee, to take the next phase in our program. Thank you.
I guess I don't have to go too far because Max is going to give us our benediction.
Let us go forth from this place in peace, rejoicing in the abundance that is ours in this town, in the peace that we know by the strength of our armed forces, and in the blessing of our Lord.
Okay, thank you for all attending. At this moment, we're going to ask, as the colors are retired, we're going to form up on Springdale Ave here. If you look at your program, there's a list of how we're going to form, so if the groups could all kind of fall in as correct. And we are off to Highland Cemetery.
Retrieve the colors.
All rise when the colors are moved, please.
Right shoulder, high. Forward, high. Right shoulder, high. Forward, high.
Live. Live. Not live.
Order. Time. Present. Time. Order. Time. Flag. Take. All right. Mark. Order. Time. Stoop. And maybe close out. Present. Time. Order. Time.
Once again, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Highland Cemetery, where so many of the men and women that have died for our country are buried here from the town of Dover. So this is a very solemn place for all of us, And if you ever have an opportunity to walk through the cemetery, you'll see some names that have served our country well. And I'm going to, both Chris and I are going to read some of these names in a couple of seconds. Before we do, though, let me tell you what's going to happen the rest of the evening, okay? Bottom line is Memorial Day, what we do is we put our American flag at half staff. Okay? So if you look, that flag is at half staff. And then now that it's dusk, okay, our color guard will raise the flag, signifying that our day, Memorial Day, is done, and we go back to our lives. And then when we move out of here, we're going to go back, march to our town hall, and go to the American flag that's on our town hall and do the same ceremony. And then after that, we will welcome everybody to a family barbecue at Dover Legion. And we'll talk more about that later. So now, it's my honor to read part of the men that have died for our country from here in Dover. And then Chris will take over. From the French and Indian War, Eliza Ellis. From the Revolutionary War, Thomas Draper, Elias Haven. From the Civil War, we lost a lot of men in the Civil War. Henry Ayer, Andrew Bartlett, John Brown, James Carey, Perez Francis Fearing, Henry Jennings, George Markham, John Stevens, John Strang, Eugene Summer, Albert Woods.
World War I, George B. Preston. Post-war, William H. Locke, William McCassell. World War II, John E. Bentley Jr., Graham Bruce Cameron, Ernest Patrick Clues, Weldon Fader DeLong, Frank S. Watson, Ross Whittier Jr., Vietnam, James Channing Jr., Robert Allen Doughton, Christopher Lawrence.
And let me add something. George Preston, who died in World War I, what our color guard just did while everybody was marching up here, we went over and put flowers on his grave, which is right directly behind us. And our American Legion post is named after him. So we'll be there this evening.
Hey, hurry up, huh? Come to the ready. Aim. Fire. Come to the ready. Aim. Fire. Come to the ready. Aim. Fire. Right shoulder, high. Left, straight. Forward, high.
Could I have the Girl Scouts, brownies, go right behind them?
Wait a minute, wait, whoa. Hold on.
like to ask my good friend, Reverend Peter DeSanto, to say the
As we stand under this flag that our fallen soldiers fought for, died for, let us pay them respect. We see this flag, the stars and stripes. Let's honor their memory. I honor them. God bless America. Thank you.
Before we adjourn with Fellowship High School rendition of Star Spangled Banner, I would like to give a couple closing remarks very quickly. First, I want to thank all of you for coming today. It's great to have our Golden Legion, many of our veterans, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Brownies, Dover Fire, Police, and every townsperson that's here tonight. This is a great addition of why Dover is such a great town, and why Memorial Day is so special to all of us. For those of us that fought in combat, let me tell you something. Frankly, I never thought I would come back. I was 22 years old, and I'm so glad to be here today. I'm 72. I never thought it was going to happen. But God is good, and God was good to me. So I'd like to ask everybody, just a second, to bow their heads in silent prayer and thank God for everything that they've been given.